Hi friends, it is DJ Montague, and today we are talking about my hardcore level 100 journey with Necromancer. Recently I have just finished the level 100 hardcore race and placed my name upon the statue of Lilith. Most likely. They didn't announce the names yet, but I'm probably there, like in the top 300 to 400 range. So I want to give my input on why I don't think this event was all that well done. So let's get into it. Did I really miss the boss? Oh, I missed a boss. It's okay. Do I really need to use an elixir right now to ensure?
Dude, do it! I swear.
I did. I did. Like that's the one thing that could go fucking wrong.
Just in case, because could you imagine?
Could you
ripping
imagine?
At 99.99.
Right. Oh my god.
It's about fucking time.
Oh.
Now go tweet.
I will. So, friends, I have just finished up this race, and my first feeling on it was a massive sigh of relief. As you can see here, I was going on about 14 to 16 hours a day every day for about 2 weeks and experiencing a lot of issues with the game as a whole if you are playing mostly solo or trying to power level your friends. And it was a pretty draining experience, and I assumed it would be, but I didn't think that the disparity between experience gained would be as bad as it was. So first of all, let's start with the timing of the event. So Blizzard wanted to do all of this hype and bring all of these people to play Diablo 4 in its purest, buggiest, like, form. They wanted everybody to go in on the most even playing field, quote unquote, whether or not you bought the ultimate pack or just bought the regular pack and you were 4 days late. I understand the frustration that people feel behind that and people not wanting to go in completely blind. I will say that my character that did survive to level 100 was made after the game was fully released to the public. It was 4 days. It was 4 days after the early access. I did play the early access, so I did have that knowledge, but I think it's an important distinction that the character that lived to 100 was made after the 4 days. But anyways, so the timing of the event starting prior starting prior to the full release of the game, starting in early access, one feels weird as a competition because knowledge is power in a game where everybody's going in blind. Not a lot of people know about what is available to you, what build paths are truly good and bad. The only people that do know about this stuff are the beta players, and they didn't have access to they didn't have the availability to enter into this competition. If they did get hardcore 100, they would not be allowed to be put on the statue, which I think is also weird because of this. Like, I get that, like, Woody Joe was going to have way more knowledge than anyone else possibly on planet Earth has about Diablo 4 due to the nature of who he is and what he has done and having access to the beta. Now, he has studied the game more than, yet, like I said, anybody else. And it's important to have him be in a separate bracket, but I think that his achievements in the game are also very important. And I think that's a frustrating situation to happen where you have a blanket rule that comes out after the beta or the early access for the testers that says none of these people will be allowed to be on this statue. Now, do people make the distinction of that they don't want to enter into this beta? They want to go in a clean slate and make a different choice. That very well could happen, and it wasn't available to be given that choice. I think that's kind of awkward as a gamer. That what if you had the people that played the Street Fighter 6 early access, they were banned from the first wave of tournaments? That's an awkward scenario, and chances are these professional players would have said, no, I don't want to enter into the early access. I would rather just play, if that was the option. Now, whatever, that's not the option. That's not what we got. The communication, I think, has been pretty poor in that regard. But I also think that Blizzard, with all of their amount of knowledge of marketing and competition and how much they've put forth with World of Warcraft, with Heroes of the Storm, with Overwatch, with StarCraft. I think with all of these games, they have a breadth, a wealth, a vast, deep pool of knowledge about what competition is and what should happen. Now, do I think that this competition should have happened on the first day of release, including the early access? No, absolutely not. It should have been in season 1. It should have been the first. It should have been the first day of season 1. You go in and the first 1,000 people to hit 100 in hardcore will get their name on the statue. I think that this was a big mistake, that it was just on day 1, because this game is incredibly buggy from day 1. They fixed a lot of things and they've been pretty communicative about that. But when you have people that are losing their characters to disconnection, is one of the worst feelings I think I've ever had in a game, where you sit there for 40 straight hours and you're just plugging away and you feel like you're on a good pace, you feel like you're doing well, and then the game disconnects you. And it's not from your internet, it's a Blizzard side thing. And then your heart sinks. You have this moment of like, I just lost all that time and there's really nothing I can do about it. There was no outplay potential. I just lost because I was unlucky with the internet. That is a terrible feeling. Now, they should have gotten these bugs underway, they should have gotten these bugs squashed before they had this competition. Player balance, character balance is a big factor, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But I think that all in all, when you lose a character to a disconnect, you saw it with Shroud, you saw it with Quinn, which was so crazy the way that Quinn lost his character. I had a friend, Zav, lose 2 characters to disconnections, which is awful. It shouldn't happen. I had the guy that I was running the race with, which we'll also get into, lost his character to what we think is an infinite damage bug. And he was playing a barbarian. He was incredibly tanky. He had all shouts up, and he got hit by 1 explosion from 1 monster. There were several explosions around, but from what we can tell, he only got hit by 1 explosion. We slowed it down. I'll have some footage here, most likely for you guys. But watching him like lose his character in that situation, and then the character sheet also saying unknown killer instead of saying like you died from a corpse fiend explosion or you died from this, it's one of the most heartbreaking feelings. Because again, like I said, like I've tanked that explosion on a necromancer, he's tanked that explosion on his barbarian. We were farming that area for tens of hours, and it was really frustrating to lose it right there for what we feel like is no good reason. But alas, it could have been more than that, and we're just looking into the unfortunate situation. Anyways, I think that when you have a game that is released that has the potential to have bugs that are this detrimental, that take away so much time from people, it's no longer about, hey, you're playing hardcore, you should expect to die, and if you're not playing perfectly, you know, that's it, to, hey, you're playing hardcore in this competition to, you know, put your name on something, and the value of your name on something is up to the person. It's not the distinction of what you decide video games are worth to you. I also want to explain that. Like, I know that people are like, it's just a game, but, you know, to some people it's more. That it's left up to chance on whether or not your character survives. It really hurts the integrity of a competition like this. And I think Blizzard's silence up until about 2 days ago about whether or not they were going to restore these characters also sucks, because they don't have an avenue for anyone to actually get these characters back that have been wrongfully killed by Blizzard. And when you're in a competition, that is not okay. I get that if this was the first couple weeks of a release of a game and there wasn't this competition, yeah, dude, you're playing hardcore. Like, bugs are going to happen, disconnects are going to happen. I totally agree with that. I don't think this competition should have happened in this way then. So this is why I think that it should have been in season 1. One more thing I also want to touch on with this competition was class imbalance. Obviously, when you have the release of a game, the class imbalance is going to be completely out of whack again. So why have it at the beginning? Why have the competition on day 1 if the integrity and the class balance is not where you want it to be? When there are massive bugs where people are doing quintillion amounts of damage in a game that you're looking to aim, that late game people are doing like 17 million damage crits at the very, very high end. When you have the damage disparity of barbarians able to clear, level 100 nightmare dungeons in day 3, and that wasn't your intention, and nobody else is able to do that or even come close, what are we doing here? Should we all just be playing barbarian? And that was the aim for ease of access? That doesn't sound fun, right? Nobody wants to see 1,000 barbarian players names all on a statue. That just sounds kind of silly, right? So I think that was also one of the situations that Blizzard ran into pretty quickly, and they wanted to rectify it. And I think that they again should have waited. Hell, they could have waited a couple weeks, let people acclimate to the game, find the good dungeons. Obviously, like, keeping information from the general public is obviously going to give you a catapulted or inflated experience gain. But once the information disseminates out to the public, be it some dude finding information and posting it on Discord, and then it goes to Reddit, and then it goes to the streams, and then it goes to this place and that place. That's part of the speedrun community in general. So why hold us from that? You know what I mean? I think that's a part of community and camaraderie that we missed out on. That it was just like almost like used for clicks in the competition. But anyways, so let's get into the bugs of it. The bugs of like dying to a disconnect suck. No matter what, no matter how you spin it, no matter how you think about it, like, dying to a bug is the worst situation in hardcore. You're not dying to player skill. Dying to disconnection sucks, especially when it's a client-side disconnection rather than your own internet disconnection. I've had both, and lucky enough, my character lived through all of my disconnections, which was often. I streamed it. I probably disconnected 4 or 5 times every day, which is just, it's terrifying every time. So over the course of my race, my completed run, which was 140 hours on my Necromancer, I probably disconnected 20, 30, maybe even 40 times and lived through all of them. I got lucky, whereas people didn't. Shroud disconnected twice, and he lost his character on the second one, but this is after he hit 100. Quinn disconnects in a nightmare dungeon inside the immunity dome. Like, that's just, no, that shouldn't happen, right? Like, he was teleporting to town and he dies after getting disconnected. Like, this is just something that shouldn't happen. And I think that Blizzard had a chance to not have this competition as the way that it did, and also they had a chance to say, hey, if your character is above a certain threshold, level 70, let's say that, and your character dies in what you feel like is a bug, we have a team dedicated, and we want to make sure the integrity of this race is handled well. So you can send in your clip, you can send in, your information, and we can review it, see how your character died, let you know, hey, that character's gone for good. This was not, our error. You died to an explosion. Something like that. It's a competition at the end of the day, and the integrity of the competition should be upheld by the person or people putting on the competition. You don't go to a fighting game tournament and expect the dude next to you to be cheating, right? And you're going to lose the tournament based on some random effect of the way the bracket worked. You ran into the cheater earlier in the bracket, something like that. That's not the way competition works. And when you have something as inconsequential as your name being on a statue is, it's important to some people, and they should be celebrated for the importance that it is to them. And they should have just as much of a chance to get their name on a statue as somebody else out there in the world that even doesn't care about it. But so beyond bugs, one of the main things that people had run into is a lot of people decided to go in solo for a multitude of different reasons. Their friends didn't want to go through the buggy situations. They didn't want to play hardcore. They just wanted to play softcore and enjoy the game, enjoy the storyline. Whatever their reasonings were, these people are playing alone. And the difference in experience gain when you are alone versus when you have 1 or 2 or 3 friends is absolutely astronomical. And I'll explain why. There are a few dungeons in the game that have multiple paths. Now, most dungeons in Diablo 4, you enter into the dungeon, you have one path, you guys all kind of go around in an area, and it points you in a direction. You fulfill certain criteria, killing all the enemies, getting all the essence to fill, the urn, or whatever it is, whatever you're doing, killing specific enemies on a map. But some dungeons are less linear than others. They have 2 split paths in the beginning, like Blind Burrows. Or they have 3 split paths like Champ's Demise, which ends up becoming these meta dungeons that are so good if you have more than one person to complete, because you can split up into 3. Everybody gets the maximum amount of experience available, but you're clearing the dungeon 2 to 3 times faster than if you were to do this solo. And this becomes insane when you have 3 fully geared and talented players that are able to clear Champ's Demise in 1.5 minutes versus solo, you're clearing it in 5 minutes. Now imagine that. The numbers behind that, when you're able to get 700,000 experience in 1.5 minutes versus 700,000 experience in 5 minutes, is going to be a massive gap in the amount of time you are spent in game doing these things, let alone if you have the need to power level somebody or something. But that's also inconsequential. That's a whole separate can of worms with power leveling and the like. I think that power leveling should be in the game. I think that especially when you have a hardcore competition like this, I think there should be an availability for people to get back into the race in a reasonable amount of time, rather than like 40 hours getting back up to level 60 or whatever it is. But at the same time, group play is so strong, so far and away stronger than anything than solo self-found, that I think that if they were going to have this competition, they either needed to, again, do it at a later date when people could plan for it and have their friends be like, oh, you played through softcore, you want to do this hardcore race with me? That would be really fun. Or have avenues for people to actually, have a group finder in game and say like, hey, I'm looking to do this, this is something that I'm excited about. Instead of what we have now, which is just like day one, like not a lot of people. I had one friend and I had to kind of beg him, not gonna lie, like, love Nori. He kept me in the race. He literally kept me able to put my name on that statue because of what he helped me do. Also, I'll explain that. But like, I have other friends that are still in the race right now that have played more than me. and it's because they're playing solo, and it's just a bad feeling. It's a bad feeling playing Diablo 4 solo. And like I'm playing softcore now, and it's one of the most fun experiences. I love Diablo 4. Like, this is amazing. Playing with your friends is one of the most wonderful experiences that Diablo has. But playing in a competition without your friends is really, really hard when you watch other people. I'll give you a good example. On day 3, I think I was in like 20th place in the world. I was like 64, and like 10th place was 65 and a half. And I was on pace to do the race on my first character. My first character ended up dying probably about an hour after I had heard that information. And then I made a new character immediately, played about 2 hours, and then my buddy Nori, he joined me for the next portion, and we both leveled up together. It took about 30 hours to get back to level 65-ish. And as we were continuing on, another friend of mine came into the stream and told me that Shroud had died after I did. I'm sorry. Shroud had died before I did. Also, I was higher level than him, but he, about 6 hours later, was level 71 when I was just hitting like level 60 by playing with one other person. He was power leveled by a few people in World Tier 4 and catapulted from, a dead character to having like a real shot at being in the top 10 again, all because of people power leveling him. And that's not to discount what Shroud has done in the gaming industry. It's to discount what is available to everyone in the format that Blizzard has put forth. It's really unfortunate that power leveling and group play is so far and away better. It's 10 times better than playing solo in terms of experience. So I think that that's one thing that really like hurt the competition's integrity as well. The last thing I did want to talk about was I absolutely think that this should have been a solo self-found competition for this. Again, I'm going to reiterate, I think that this should have happened in season 1. And I think that Blizzard should have taken this more seriously. If they are going to do a competition, they have to care about it in the lowest common denominator standpoint. And what I mean by that is they have to care as much about this competition as the like entry-level players care about the competition, and put forth effort to create the buzz so that this competition is not considered a joke. Now, do I think that Blizzard was equipped with the tools to make this happen? Absolutely. Do I think that they implemented or gave the tools to the right people? 100% no. I think that the Diablo team has done a fantastic job with the game itself, but these are developers, not like these. They have no competitive understanding of like a tournament bracket in like Evo, or they could be excited about video games and be excited about competition, but do you see them running like a format like a League of Legends Riot level, the event where you have a world championship? They don't, not for Diablo, and they didn't give them that. This was just like a throwaway competition that it's pretty prevalent that Diablo staff didn't truly care about it as much as they thought the players were going to. Now the players have come forth in droves of like how much they do care about this simple competition about a statue. I think that's really good for the health of the game, but now Blizzard needs to come to their level, and in season 1 and season 2 and season 3 going forward, having leaderboards, having these things, the competitive integrity needs to be intact. And one of the things I wanted to say with this, I know I've been harping on Blizzard for all their shortcomings with this competition. I want to say that this was really fun as an experience as a player. I did have a good time. It was draining, obviously, for not only me as a person, but also to the people around me. You know, like girlfriend bot didn't get a whole lot of time with me for 2 full weeks, you know? And that was expected from my standpoint because I knew what I was getting into. But like, I know other people haven't really had the chance to be with their significant others because they're going through this competition. And then on top of that, losing their character to a bug has to be one of the worst feelings ever. That you just lost all that time that you could have just spent with your significant other or with the people that you care about. Instead, you spent it on a game and it was lost to a situation that you have no control over. I can't imagine how infuriating that must be for these people. And that does make me sad for the competitive integrity of this game going forward. But I am still optimistic that Blizzard actually took the time to do something like this. It means that in the future they have the chance to do it again, and they have the chance to do it right. And I think that'll be really fun. I think Blizzard now knows that solo self-found is going to be something that people want in the future, that streamers want especially. Like, not everybody wants to sit there and, you know, set up playing with their 4 friends and doing all this stuff for weeks at a time. People have lives, people have their own things they want to do, but like somebody like a Dat Mods, you know, being able to just sit down and solo self-found a druid up to level 100 is an incredible task, and being able to show that he was able to do that 100% legit, all because, you know, something simple like clicking a button like you click hardcore at the beginning of a game. You know, you click hardcore and SSF at the beginning and you're just like, boom. You don't have to worry that somebody can take away your achievements with simple words. And that's what's important about this. I think that the achievement of being able to do something this strenuous and this difficult should be celebrated more than the bugs that we're talking about. The clips of people hitting 100 should be passed around the internet rather than the clip of Quinn, you know, DCing while loading into town and dying. That shouldn't be the clip that everybody's talking about. I think that's the most important thing here, is that I wanted this to be more of a positive experience for everybody in the game and celebrate the people that did this difficult thing. And it doesn't seem like that's really happening. And it doesn't seem like Blizzard really cares about that either. So I guess that's my final thoughts on it. I think that the competition, from my standpoint, again, was a rewarding experience in the end. It was nice to go through all this, and then it was nice to actually have that relief that, you know, I had completed an incredibly difficult task, whether or not I lucked myself through it or, you know, actually skilled my way through it. There were some instances where obviously I skilled my way through it because you gotta play the game. You gotta play all 100 levels to get there. But there's obviously, like, my disconnects didn't kill me, so I got lucky. So anyways, friends, that's kind of my thoughts on this hardcore 100 journey. I just wish it was implemented a little bit better. And I hope in the future Blizzard really realizes that obviously the Diablo community is going to be incredibly passionate. So is the Path of Exile community, which you are intending to take players from, just like they did from you, you know? So this is like, it can be a friendly competition between you and Grinding Gear Games, who is your competition, to do something really cool for the players, because that's what it's about. It's about doing something for the players in a competitive way, having them on leaderboards, having them have the competitive integrity intact. Anyways, that's all I got. Thank you, friends, so much for hanging out with me today. If you want to check out the clips, we've got a couple rip clips on Twitch. You can go do !rip on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want to have the discussion below, I would really appreciate that. Like, obviously this has been a big discourse on like Reddit and stuff like that, but I'd like to have like a civil discourse here too, where we can talk about all the things with this hardcore competition that has happened. Again, thank you, friends. Have a wonderful evening or day or whatever it is time for you, and I will see you soon. Peace.